Today's episode is being sponsored by Newform. Newform is community in app form. It helps you connect with others going through similar stuff, whether it's recovery, grief, anxiety, or you just feel like you need community. And the best part about the Newform app is that it's free. It offers daily live and virtual experiences from recovery meetings and yoga to creative workshops, run clubs. It's led by amazing and trusted organizations like the Phoenix, Smart Recovery, and Mental Health America. This app has already connected hundreds of thousands of people across the United States. It also has very cool features that help you track progress, like personal recovery milestones. And look, it's just a space to connect. 7 out of 10 people say they feel more connected as a result of using this app. So if you're looking for support or community and you're not really sure where to start, check out Newform. Just go to newform.org or search Newform Recovery and Wellbeing in the app or Google Store. This is an amazing application. It's free and it's led by great people. Check it out.
Welcome back here to the show, to the Zac Clark Show. We're here today. I mean, I am fired up. I'm sitting talking to this guy before this interview. I'm like, I'm ready to go, get sober and fight someone, which is basically what you did. Jimmy Drago.
Yep.
Got a big fight coming up, August 12th. We're going to get to that after we kind of go through your story. Is with us today. He's currently, so you're an MMA fighter working to get your contract from UFC, is that right?
That is correct, yeah. My next fight is 34 days away. I'll be fighting at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas on the Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. And best way to sum it up is a pretty rough job interview is really what it is. We fight another contender in the country or the world who's top tier level, and you fight in front of Dana White for a chance to prove your skills and show your belonging in the UFC.
Have you met Dana White?
I have not.
Have you fought in front of him?
I have not.
Think he knows you're sober?
No.
Is it just win or lose? Win, you're in. Lose, you're not.
You got to be exciting. You got at the end of the day, it's an entertainment business.
Yeah.
So if you go in there and lay on top of someone for 15 minutes and get your hand raised, I don't think they want to showcase that on the highest level of MMA has to offer. You want to be exciting. You want people out of their seats.
So is there a chance if you lose that you still get...
People have lost, and I think it's extremely rare where two fighters got in, where a winner and a loser got in. But there's been times where people have lost and they've gotten short call notices, or they've been brought back to the Contender Series the following year with a good showcase.
Wow.
And your camp is in what? So you were born and raised where?
Yonkers, New York, my whole life.
Never left.
Never left, no.
And you're there now.
I'm here now. Yeah.
30 years old.
Yep.
Living the dream.
Living the dream today. I tell you, Zach, there was a time, man, where I thought if I off myself on the spot, I'd be doing the world a favor. And we were talking about it before. Like, you wake up today and, like, I can't comprehend how this is real life sometimes. Life is just amazing today. It really is.
I feel that. And I there's this thing where they talk about, and I heard it in a meeting, of course, anything that sounds good coming out of my mouth, most likely it's not mine. But, it's kind of this idea that, like, if your cup is half full, you got to go hang out with people whose cup is overflowing, so you kind of get some of their juice. And if you're overflowing, like, go share it with the world and spill onto other people. And that's how I felt immediately sitting down with you, that, like, you're full, man. Like, you're flowing on to people. The energy's contagious. I met him 5 minutes ago, and I'm feeling, like, locked in. So
it's a lifestyle, and I feel like when you're in that lifestyle, and another thing we were talking about before, like, people forget. Like, I don't forget. I don't forget what pain was like. I can tell you exactly what hell was like yesterday. I mean, no phone, nobody was ever calling me, no job, no opportunities, kicked out of schools, girlfriend left, no money, family can't stand you. The consistent look of disappointment in everybody's face. Like, I remember that. Wanting to kill yourself, but too much of a pussy to do it.
Yeah.
I constantly in and out of the hospitals, detoxes, rehabs.
This is at 20 years old.
Is that 20 years old? Yeah.
You're coming up on 10, or you just celebrated 10?
I'm coming up on 10 years in October. Yeah.
You're going to get there. 8
registered overdoses by the time I could take a legal drink.
Really?
Yeah. That wasn't part of my plan growing up. But
so what did growing up look like?
Growing up was good. It really was. My father was a decorated Mount Vernon fireman. 9/11 hero, coached Little League teams. Mother stayed at home, raised us.
What's your dad's name?
His name is also Jimmy.
Is he still with us?
He's not.
When did you lose him?
He went back out after 21 years, and within 11 months, he lost his life. I was 15 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he was sober, and then
He was sober. He was sober. He helped a lot of people get sober. A lot of people. He was a mountain of a man. He really was. He was everything I wanted to be like as a kid. And, kind of like the perfect storm happened where everything in his life just went wrong at the worst time. He was going through a separation. He's hanging out in the street again. Maybe ego. I don't know. Glory. Money became more important.
And before that, you never saw him take a drink.
No, never. Drinking and drugging in our family was taboo. And, you don't understand what a disease is at 12, 13, 14 years old. You just were told we don't do it in this household, And my mother was sober. She was sober for 14 years. She went back out when I was around 8 years old. And, by the grace of God, she got back on the ball. And, we could get into this later, but, she's sober today, towards our last days. And I love sharing this story. I mean, the whole house was getting fucked up. 2015, the whole house was getting high. My mother, me, and I was fresh off another overdose. And she had time in the past. And she said to herself, I can't tell this kid he has to go to AA and tell him that this program works if I don't do this myself. And she got sober in September of 2015. And then the month later, I went away for the last time, and I got sober in October 2015. So every fucking year, she beats me by a month. So in September, she'll celebrate 10 years. And in October, I'll celebrate 10 years. And
we should have had her pull up a chair for this.
My mother's a G, man. She is. She's a tough woman. You want to talk about facing adversity? She's been through the ringer. Tough childhood growing up. Lost assisted leukemia. Lost her husband to drug addiction. Dealing with a son, battling his own addiction.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have two younger brothers. They're finding their way. She found me dead 4 different times, resuscitating me back to life. 3rd hit of Narcan, 4th hit of Narcan finally works. It's the disease is so fucked up. Because I want to play victim every time I'm in St. John's detox or something. Look at my life, this victim mentality, and I forget all the pain I put all my loved ones through. I forget, when I'm in the middle of it, I forget.
You're banging dope.
I was shooting dope. Yeah. Speedballing.
So 15, is this fentanyl around then?
I don't think so.
You'd be dead,
so.
Right? You'd be dead.
I was dying without it.
Yeah.
Maybe I got it a few times. I don't know. I had this concoction I used to do of like shooting coke and heroin.
Yeah, speedballing.
Yeah, and just sitting there listening to the wind talk to you, and my heart rate was just it was all over the place, and I'd finish it off with a Xanax or something and just fall out. Yeah, fall out. Horror stories with this.
How did you get there? There was no drinking in the house, right? You're a kid. What was the first time you used, or took a drink or?
I remember 8th grade sneaking beers. I remember smoking pot for the first time in the woods, and I love the saying, in the beginning it was magic, and then it was maintenance, and in the end it was nothing but fucking misery, and that's kind of how my story was. I tried to help my dad get sober when he was out there running. They say you picked up where you left off. No, you picked up as if you never stopped. And watching what this man went through over 11 months was it was a fucking horror story, And you got to remember, this is your hero growing up. And then to see your hero compromised.
You're 15?
I was 14 when I saw him drink for the first time. We were at a 4th of July party, 2009. He was drinking out of a red Solo cup. First time I ever seen him drink.
Why?
Yeah.
Why then? Why do you think he picked up then?
I don't know. I think everything in his life was just off track. Disconnected.
Yeah.
Forgot a step one. Stopped coming to our program. And out of the herd. Being around people that are drinking and drugging. And I want to say someone close to him slipped him a Valium to deal with the anxiety, and then the drink came right after that, and then he was big into other drugs. But
that's why people I'll go out to eat still, Is it cooked in wine? And people think I'm crazy 14 years sober. I'm not willing to flirt with this thing. Because I know one little drop of booze, and I am, to your point.
Well, I see it with the nicotine. And also, I had to have an MRI like last year.
As I got Zins in my pocket.
Yeah, me too,
I got Zin in my mouth, bro. You know what I mean? Like, but I had to have an MRI, and like the doctor gave me an Ativan, and I took a half Ativan to go because I was very nervous to do the MRI. I fucking like that, man. I like that feeling. And then I had a half one left, right? And I'm about to go on a trip, on a flight. Flying makes me nervous. That's a whole other fucking thing. And I was like, I should just take this for the flight, and like I didn't, and I probably would have been fine. But like, it's just some people like us, it's just a reaction, an abnormal reaction. So, like just hearing you talk though, it's just like you're pure blood. For real. And we've spoken to people recently that would call themselves sober, and it's, everyone has their own journey, but like sitting here, hearing how you talk and the experience that you had, it just sounds like something really
this is my
changed.
people. This is my people. So beers. So this is a question I always get, and I hope you're willing to lean in here because I'm curious, and it's one that I always get. You don't look like a crackhead. You don't look like you shoot dope. Well, I did both those things, so who am I, right? Like that's the truth of my story. So how do you go from growing up in this house, like take us through intimately how you go from grabbing a couple beers or smoking a little weed to trying to help your dad at 15 years old to being flatlined 8 times and rescued by Narcan? Like when is the first time you load that syringe? When is the how do you get to because that's the thing that I think confuses a lot of people. And I'm here to tell you there's a way out because I'm sitting in front of a guy who's 10 years sober about to knock someone out in August and get his UFC contract because I know that's going to happen. I know that's going to happen sitting here. How?
Well, first thing people need to understand is like it's a different generation today. There's no more 25 years of wasting your life and you could slowly deteriorate off smoking crack and drinking. It's a different generation. First you had, it was like almost like overnight Oxy 80s. Remember those? Then Roxys.
I remember them.
Dilaudid's, Oxycontins, and like.
You had those?
Well, they were around, but I was in high school and then Roxy's became big.
Yeah.
But like, how do you, it's like almost like it happened overnight. You go from smoking pot to, pot turns to pills, pills turn to powder. And like, all right, real simple. Like when I was trying to help get my dad sober, I tried everything I could. Show up to his house. He had a girlfriend, girl he was hanging out with. I got rid of her. And then within 2 weeks, he had someone move back in, So like my disease started before I was even, doing them. Restless, irritable, and discontent, So when he was on his last days, he calls me up and he says, I got to come talk to you. And I'll get into how he passed. He meets me across county at the Powerhouse Gym. And I'll never forget, he shows up to this gym, and he's wearing green Ralph Lauren polo pants, a white V-neck, rosary beads, and these Gazelle sunglasses he always wore because his eyes were always piss yellow from staying up all night. And he's not making any sense, and he concludes this conversation with 4 things I'll never forget. He says, Jim, I'm not the man I used to be. I lost everything. I want to start over, but I don't know where to go. And tears are coming down his face. He says, Jim, I just don't believe in God anymore. I used to believe in the prayer, footprints in the sand, but I don't believe in God anymore. And he's got tears coming down his face. And like, I'm 15 years old hugging this guy in public. And I'm thinking to myself, they talk about a bottom. Not that I understand what powerlessness or unmanageability is, but they talk about a bottom. Well, shit, this fucking looks like one to me. And we parted ways that day. And that was June 25th, 2010. And the next day,
you're not using.
No.
You're 15 years old. You're like you're
a little drink here and there.
Yeah.
A little drink, a little exposure. But the next day, he was on a boat with another girlfriend. He jumped in the water in the Long Island Sound, and he didn't resurface. And I never forget my mother calling us in the house. We got to talk to you. We don't know where Dad is. Like, what do you mean you don't know where Dad is? He's like, he's missing, Jim. He was on the boat. He jumped in the water. They don't know where he is. And I had such a hard understanding of that. He taught us how to swim by throwing us in the 8 feet, swim to the wall, or else you're going to, once the bubble stops, kid, you're dead. Like that's how we were taught to swim. He was a decorated Mount Vernon fireman. He saved lives. You're not going to tell me he drowned. But they found him 8 days later floating in the Long Island Sound. And that's kind of where my disease prepped me, you know, where it wasn't like dad's dead, pick up a bottle, you know, let's go fucking get blasted. It was more of like, I felt like a failure. I felt like I could have done more because I had done so much up to that point to try and help him. I'd gotten rid of, you know, toxic people in his life. I've showed up to his house, but I still fell short. So I felt like a real piece of shit. Like I failed him. Like if only I called him that night. If only he was on the boat. If only I got rid of that one. And the irritable, restless, and discontent came into my life, man. I was affected by my emotions. I was insecure, and nothing was ever enough for me. And they say, like, the drink and the drugs is the solution. Bro, they're right. It worked. I was able to have fun. It was fun running from cops when we were kids. We were laughing, you know, hanging out with people in the park. It was magic. It was fun. And then, like, overnight, it's like you blinked your eyes and, you know, Molly came in and Pier 94 and all these places.
Are you playing sport? Are you an athlete?
Fighting at this
What do
point?
No, fighting was never a thing for me. I played high school football. I did 2 years of high school wrestling. And then, you know, I just, you know, those wrestling workouts, man, I want to smoke pot, man. I don't want to be running up bleachers with 45-pound weight on me.
What high
Like,
school?
I went to Fordham in the Bronx.
You did?
Prep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my father paid for the first year, and then after he passed away, they took care of me because we would never been able to afford it. And my mother worked 2 jobs, one for benefits, one to put food on the table. And we had, you know, that's something I always think about. Like, there was no male influence to crack us in our head and say, what are you doing? You know, like, I was a really good football player in high school. You know, I had 77 receptions. I had over 1,000 yards. But, like, I didn't apply myself at all. Mm. You know, I don't even think I've ever shared this before. I was a senior in high school, and around the 5th game in, we would always go to these concerts. Remember the Day Glows and the Afro Jacks and the Pier 94. I remember how I felt when I would take these ecstasies and these mollies. You know, I felt real loose. So I used to say, well, maybe if I take a little bit before this football game, I'll play better. Mm-hmm. So I tried it my 5th game in, and I remember like an hour and a half before the game starts taking it.
Molly.
Yeah. Smoking a little Newport to kind of kick it in. You know, that was always like the key in the ignition.
Yeah.
And then going out into
Newport, man.
Out into the field, nobody could catch me.
Stop.
And I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke. The highlight tape is on you. Nobody could catch me, man. And I remember
High on Molly, playing football.
Fucking running like the wind.
Torching.
Running like the wind. And my first game I did it, I had 2 touchdowns, an interception in the 3rd overtime, over like 120 yards, 10 catches. I was like, I should have been doing this fucking the whole time. You know, and then someone, when I got sober later on, was like, well, you don't know how good you would have played if you weren't on it. You know, but like, see, that's how my mind was working back then. Like, they were the solution.
What happened game 6?
Yeah, were you always
we got
then?
fucking smoked, man, towards the
Game
end, bro.
6.
Dude, we'd always come right up to the finish line and like find a way to blow it. But, you know, but like, drugs came into my life
Did
at
you
a
take
perfect
Molly
time.
every game the rest of the year?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Oh.
Hell yeah. What? Take it to go to JP, you know, whatever, all the bars in Woodlawn.
Fucking corner store, right?
Yeah.
So, but like now, like you at this time too, like you're the oldest of 2 brothers. You got 2 younger brothers. Like, are there any role models or, you know, male figures? Like, are you going to therapy? Like, you just experienced this like tragic event with your father. Like, how are you being supported, or is there any support?
So my mother is an absolute saint. She is. She did the absolute best she could to raise 3 kids on her own, you know. But she's one woman.
Yeah.
Managing 3 kids, a house, managing benefits, and getting food on the table. She just retired. You know, this was 15 years ago. You know, so she put her work in. I mean, there was no one there to save the day, though. You know, we learned on our own, and we talk about this all the time. Like my wife and I, like, not that we have kids, we've been trying for a while, but like, when you're raising kids, like, where do you draw that gray line between protecting them from the world, but like letting them learn on their own? Because if they don't overcome these adversities, how are they going to have these experiences to get through life? And like, that's a really thin line. And my line was, we ran, you know, miles past it. We were selling drugs, we were making money, we were having fun. I had arrived moment. Mm-hmm. Like that was in high school.
But you're going to Fordham Prep.
Yeah.
So is it? Are you living a double life? Are you hanging out? Because Fordham Prep's a private school, right? I mean, is it?
Well, it was manageable.
Okay.
It was manageable at the time. You know, you do some Molly on the weekends. You do a Molly for, you know, football game. Like, I'm not really going around bragging about this. Like, growing up, being a drug addict, you kind of kept it under Not that I ever thought I was at 16 or 17, but like I wouldn't brag about those things.
What was your reputation at that time? Like if I asked like a friend or a teacher, like would they say, "Oh, Jimmy's a really good kid. He's hardworking. He's intense."
Probably
like,
say he's got really fire Molly. You know, but I was a good athlete. I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't like getting arrested, you know, and not until later on a little bit. But like I was a good kid. I looked out for people.
Yeah.
I did my best to do good in school. I loved to party.
Yeah.
You know, and we talked about this before, like overnight, like pot turned to pills turned to powder. And then kids in the neighborhood started doing Roxy's. And I don't know, one day, like we condemn those people. Like, oh, they're doing those pills. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's on the pills. He's a loser. And then, I don't know, one day I woke up and I was like, I want to try them. And my first experiences with Roxy's was like, you know, I just like sniffed 2 of them. And like I always hear stories like, oh, I did a half of one. I threw up and I'm like, bitch. You know, like I did 2 of them. And man, let me tell you something. I couldn't lift my eyes up. It was hell disguised as heaven. You know, and I commend people that can maintain a Roxy habit for X amount of time, because after doing them for 2 weeks, I was broke and I wasn't getting high anymore. So I did what any smart person would do. I graduated to heroin, but I'm not that bad. You know, I'm not shooting it yet.
Right. So
I'm
just to break it down
sniffing
for people,
you know?
like listen, like a Roxaset is a. If you go and you get your wisdom teeth out and you get a perk 5 or a perk 10, that's basically like 375 milligrams of Tylenol mixed with 5 milligrams of Percocet. The Roxaset, which is what Jimmy's talking about, is a small little blue pill, which is 30 milligrams of pure painkiller, and they rocked.
Hell disguised as heaven.
Yeah.
You know what? It's, and I think it's important to say, like, you know, pot is definitely a gateway drug. You know, when I started smoking pot, I never thought I'd graduate to these drugs. It's kind of how my story unraveled, though. But you know, the pills. I feel like when you're in your late stages of like entering like that, crossing that invisible line of drug addiction, like, you know, people try and justify like, yeah, but I'm not doing heroin. Like, yo, Roxy's are fucking up there, you know. And then you start graduating to heroin. It's like, yeah, but I'm not shooting it. I'm just sniffing it, you know.
So
and you're like trying, like,
so 2 weeks. You go. You go on the block. You get a Roxaset. You do them for 2 weeks, and you start doing dope.
I started doing dope. Yeah.
Where? How did you know where to find it?
A kid that I did the Roxy's with brought me it.
And said, hey, this is cheaper.
I think I might have inquired about it, honestly. I might have asked him.
How old are you at this time?
I was 19.
Okay, 19.
Maybe 18 and a half.
And you're out of high school. Were you going to college?
I went to Quinnipiac for 1 year. I only lasted a year. First semester I had a 3.7. Second semester I had a 1.9. I went back for my sophomore year. I lasted 3 days, and I called my mother up. I said, Mom, I didn't hand this tuition check in yet. I said, you got to come pick me up, you know. But it wasn't because I was running away. Like I knew I was jammed up with drugs. I kind of got into some shit up there, and I was like, I haven't been up there since. I'll leave it at that. But like that's like where it started getting towards the downward spiral. Overdosing. Started hanging out with people that are shooting. I'm shooting. It's not enough. I mix it with Coke. Shoot this, shoot that. I mean, the discontent is just nothing was ever fucking enough for me. I'm always pushing that bar, that limit. How, you know, I had to be like inches away from death to feel something. The feeling
is not enough. But like before you get to that point, which then it becomes all about the drug, are you using drugs, like graduating to these stronger substances because you just want to party, or are you aware of that, like you're in a lot of pain?
No, I just want to party. I didn't care about pain. My mother used to say, "Hey, come to this program with me," and I said, "I'm not doing that." You know, I'm not fucking going there. And you know, like I think you hit a point where like, you know, you've passed that line, and then like, all right, I'll go away to rehab. And I had been to a rehab at this point, but like you get out and you get high again, and it's like it don't fucking work. You know, and I can never get past that 40-day hump without the 30 days of rehab help. And I went to 3 rehabs, and it's funny, I thought after the first rehab, I thought I could just drink. Drugs were my problem, and I go right back to the heroin. Mm-hmm. Then I get out of my second rehab, I could just smoke pot, and I go right back to the heroin. And my thinking was so fucked up. I get out of my third rehab, I'll just sell heroin. I'm not going to use it. But I got to make sure the shit I'm selling is good. Therefore, it's not a relapse. It's a business acquisition. Like, yo, my thinking was fucking distorted. Like, I'm shot, you know? And it's a result of the years of using.
And so when do you start banging dope? When do you start shooting dope?
I want to say around 19.
So
19
you're
and a half.
you're out with these people. You've been sniffing it. You've been getting by. You're not getting high anymore. You need to reset your tolerance, and someone's shooting dope, and you're saying, "Teach me."
So the first person I ever seen shoot dope, I won't mention his name, but we laugh about this all the time. I remember sitting in a car on Jerome Avenue, and 4 of us were in the car, 3 of us were sniffing it, and he was the first person I've ever seen shoot heroin. And I remember looking at him in the back seat, and I was like, this kid's a fucking mess. And then, like, where was I 6 months later? And, you know, I actually do remember this story now. I was in a daze. I was in, like, a Xanax blackout, and someone shot me up for the first time. And I didn't even remember until a day or two later. And then once that happened, I was like, well, yes, I can't say I never did that before. So I kind of just stuck with it. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy, but I've been there, and I relate because it's just crossing one never off the list after another. That's it.
I'm gonna chase it to the gates of death, man. I am. I mean, my poor mother found me dead 4 different times. I got like 8 registered ODs. I mean, since
When did you know it was sobriety or death?
my mother found me dead, I got out of rehab. I went back out and I started shooting heroin again. And I remember there was a kid in our neighborhood named Mike who got drafted to the Athletic A's. Family's still very active in Yonkers. Great people. He took a bullet in a Burger King parking lot. And he was on life support for about 11 days. And my last day drinking and drugging, I'm in this like little fucking shanty house on Westchester Avenue. And we're smoking crack. And we're shooting heroin. And I got kids in diapers running around next to me because the fucking parents are I'm getting high with the parents. And I don't even know who these people are. And my mother and my brother called me up and they said, hey, they're going to pull the plug on our friend Mike. You know, and he's been on life support. So I showed up to Jacoby Hospital, which is only like, 15 minutes away. And this poor family just pulled the plug on their 23-year-old kid. And like there I was, just like kicking the door open, causing a scene, fucking rocked. And this poor family just lost their son. And like, I'm just in there looking like a fucking asshole. And they didn't even let me drive home. And I went home that day and I looked at my younger brother, Joe. And how many times I said, I'm sorry. I just looked at him and I got, I'm sorry, Joe. And I helped raise him, man. And he just shook his head. And like a month before that, he's resuscitating me back to life, To hear I'm sorry. He just kind of shook his head at me. And I was in the shower in the fetal position. And I got tears coming down my face. And I'm just saying to myself, I can't fucking do this anymore. I'm done. I can't do this no more. So I sat in that bed for 4 days and I detoxed.
On your own?
Yeah.
Kicked on your own?
Yeah. Maybe I took a sub. I don't know.
Yeah,
Suboxone to prevent the withdrawals. I don't remember. I know it was about 4 days. And someone got me sent over to Advanced Health and Education rehab out in Jersey. Shrewsbury, that area, Eatontown. And that's where my journey began. I completely removed myself from New York for about 6 months. I did my 30 days of rehab. I did about 6 months of, about 4 months of sober living out there, intensive outpatient. My first job in sobriety, I worked at Forever 21.
No, you didn't.
I swear to God. I worked there for like 4 days. And then a guy from the outpatient said, hey, I got a job roofing. And, that was like one of the best things that ever happened to me because, they say you learn things about yourself in recovery, and I don't know. I got like 50 days sober and like I'm fucking ripping these shingles off. And I was like, whoa, I could do a good job, And like I found out like I got work ethic, man. And life was just happening, Hey, I'm Jimmy. I'm an addict, alcoholic. I got 60 days sober today. And the whole room was clapping. I couldn't believe that. And I kept going to my meetings.
That's the most time you had.
Yeah.
And you're 20 years old.
20 and a half, yeah.
And the community there kind of sees this
in
young
Jersey,
guy.
it was very strong.
And they see this young guy come in from Yonkers, and they're like, we gotta pick this kid up.
I don't know about that. I think a lot of people come into these fucking places, and a lot of them don't make it. Yeah. And I love this analogy. Like, how many times have you drove past somebody that was stuck on the side of the road? You drive right past them, right?
Yeah.
But what if they were pushing their own car? Would you get out and help them then? I know I sure would. So I see someone pushing their car. And like the analogy is like people tend to help those who are trying to help themselves. And back then I had this fire under my fucking ass that just failure was not an option. And I didn't know what life was going to be like. I really didn't. I didn't think I was going back to school. I didn't know if I'd ever get into a trade. I didn't know anybody. No one would ever hire me. I was the worst employee in the United States of America. But I knew what I wasn't doing anymore, and I wasn't getting high. Hey, I'm Jimmy. I'm an addict alcoholic. I got 90 days today. And the whole outpatient was clapping. And I'll never forget sitting there in that chair saying, wow, this is pretty fucking cool. Maybe, just maybe, I got a shot at this. And my life took off.
These are the stories we need to hear. I mean, like, I'm sitting here with goosebumps because it's taking me back to my early days, and no one was ever clapping for me, for nothing. And here you are, here I am, here Jay is, you know, counting days, whatever it is, and there's that noise. I can still hear it the first time you hear it because you don't know it's really coming, you know, and they start. And
It's scary to say too, but like, were you afraid to say that out loud at that point, or you were just?
I didn't give a shit.
You didn't give a shit. You know, when you were saying, and I don't know if this is something you've ever thought about, but like with that moment with your brother, it sort of mirrors the moment you had with your dad, and then, you know, whereas that went that way, you went this way. I mean, do you think, like, looking dead into the eyes of your little brother, saying, I can't be like this anymore, I'm gonna die, like what gave you that fuel?
The gift of desperation.
Yeah.
I think some people are just, that's their fucking story. And like, you know, coming from the lives we live and the work we do outside of this podcast room, like, how many people do we know that don't make it? And I showed Blake my phone before. Since I got sober, anybody that I've known that's passed away from this disease as a result of suicide, drinking and driving, overdose, I put their name in my phone. That name's almost 100 fucking deep now.
Yeah.
100 people. That's just people that I've known. And like, why do I get so lucky? One, to not, and it's kind of like two things. Like, one, to know there's a solution and a place to go. How many times you see people come right in and out? And then two, to fucking get the gift and to stay. That is like a whole nother.
What are you telling someone in early recovery?
What am I telling someone in early recovery?
Outside of the stuff in the, you know, like just stock advice, you know, someone's thinking about getting sober, or someone's.
I want to know how they got to right now in front of my face. Talk to me. How'd you get here? Nobody comes in here on a winning streak. So like, talk to me. What, you know, how'd you end up here? And then usually they'll give me a little bit of their story, and I'll say, you know, that kind of sounds pretty unmanageable. You know, don't you think like you shouldn't be like hiding your heroin from your wife, or, you know, you don't think it was a good idea to be drinking and driving with your kids in the car? And, you know, you kind of state the obvious, like, hey, something's off here. And you can bring the horse to the water, but you can't force him to drink. But I sometimes think the best thing you could do is plant the seeds so that when they are ready, they know where they can go.
Yep. And
to have unconditional judgment for people. There needs to be a level of understanding, like, hey, bud, I'm no different than you. And I really think another thing that's important is letting them know a little bit who I am. Like, hey, listen, I'm not here to interrogate you, bro. I'm not the fucking police here. Like, you're just another drunk or drug addict that, you know, in this church basement with me. You know, listen, this is where I was. This is where I am today. And I look that person dead in the eye and I tell them, this is the best fucking decision I've ever made. And I mean it when I say that.
I mean, I second that for myself. Anything that I have, sobriety.
That's right.
Anything. This hat, jeans, the camera's filming this shit. Like, it's all, none of this is here. Literally none of this is here. I can picture this room barren with me shaking on the floor, kicking. So when do you go back to Yonkers? After a year?
I moved back to Yonkers, I want to say about 6 months after being in a sober house. I had a guy who's very pivotal in my life. He was a coach. His name's Sam Margie. If there was more Sam Margies in the world, it'd be a lot better place. But I had gone to his gym here and there, and he called me up one day. He says, hey, I know you're out in Jersey, but you want to take a kickboxing fight? Like, sure.
Were you fighting at this point?
No, I was watching Conor McGregor videos and like TJ Dillashaw videos and like mimicking their moves with ankle
So
weights.
you were into
on.
it though.
I was into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was out there in Jersey, I wanted to do the Golden Gloves, and I went to Gleason's gym in Long Branch, I think it was, and they pretty much just said like I wasn't good enough. Maybe try again next year. And I remember like going home like huffing and puffing, like what the fuck, And then like Sam calls me up like 2 weeks later. He's like, "You want to take this?" And it was like on a week's notice, and I don't got no gym. It's like, fuck it, let's do it. And that was my first organized fight. I mean, fighting it came into my life a little bit earlier. When I was out there getting high and drinking, there was underground fight clubs and stuff that I got introduced to, and just absolutely horrific decisions I made during my addiction and stuff.
So what is that like? What's underground? How do you get there? You're fighting. Like, what does that look like? Where is that happening?
It was like a big part skipped. When I was out there getting high, I was hanging out in the Bronx a lot, and one of these guys I was hanging out with was like, "Yo, Jim, look at this. It's called the BX Fight Club." And in 2013, 14, like 30,000 followers was like a lot of people back then.
Yeah.
And I'm watching these like guys fight, and they're like giving out prizes at the end of it. And I'm like, I need money, man. So I was like, fuck it, I'm messaging them. So I messaged them, and they gave me the address. It was somewhere in Hunts Point. And I went down there, and I still got the picture and the videos of it. And I'm wearing long sleeve shirts and sweatpants because I'm fucking kicking. And
But you're still working out? Are you still?
no, I was a heroin addict. I was a heroin addict. This is before I went away.
Just for money. You're like, fuck it, I need money.
Yeah, but the funny thing is like I never got paid. But see, here's where like the despair, the disease really gets you. So like I go in there. I had a girlfriend at the time. She dropped me off, and she's like begging me not to go into this place. Like it's, you're in Hunts Point, dude. And I walked into there, and I said, "I'm here to fight." And they're like, "No, you're not." And I said, "Look at the message. You guys messaged me." And I was the first fight, and the picture is this kid towering over me. And there was no training back then, just scrappy kids growing up, and put this kid on his fucking ass twice.
You did?
Yeah. I'll show you the stuff. Yeah.
You got it.
I have the videos, yeah.
Never
From
fought
2014.
Never fought before, ever.
Only in the street.
Yeah.
Not organized. Yeah. And so, this is like where like the loneliness of the disease really takes you. So like I would lie to people as a justification, like, yeah, I'm going to get paid for this. But they would put this highlight tape up, 40,000, 30,000 people to see. And there I am, no one knows I'm a junkie really. I kept it to myself. I'm in sweatpants. Like the signs are all there. I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt. I'm covering marks, But people would reach out to me after they saw that. Yo, Jim, doing great. And I ran with that. I was such desperate for like a human connection.
Yeah.
A hug.
That I had to hurt people to get it.
To feel it.
And people would reach out, and whether it was real or fake, it didn't matter. I just needed some sort of, social connections. My phone never rang. I didn't have much going for me. But then I'd go down to Hunts Point, and I'd fucking put beatings on people, and then it'd be all over the internet. Like, yo, I know it. I went to high school. And like, I felt like this, like I don't know. I just felt like important,
You ever lose? You ever lose down there?
You know what? They called it a tie. I'll tell you straight up. I definitely think I lost. So
who's running this? Who's running these things? Is there like a boss man? I mean, like, is there like what?
You can't ask these questions.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Why not?
They're good people.
Yeah.
But like, there's it's not just your like the money.
So what I really liked about it was
I'm not asking for names.
What I really liked about it was the motto: guns up, gloves down. And I guess they ran with that as far as they did, And I think that's a cool little stigma to run with, and maybe put some reasoning behind having an underground fight club. But I was in the middle of my addiction, and I went down there and I fought this kid, and I hurt him pretty bad, and he was on the fucking floor season. And then after that, like, he trained for 6 months, and then like I stuck a needle in my neck for 6 months, and we fought again. And it was pretty cool actually. They used to have like artists come down, like Uncle Murder used to come down, Mano come down. My last time down there, I fought in front of 50 Cent. I really one day hope he gets to see this because he's part of my fucking story, man. My last fight down there in Hunts Point he was right there banging on the fucking canvas. And I fought this kid, the same kid that I, hurt 6 months earlier. And we went 4 rounds, and I dropped him. He dropped me. And, dude, I'm fucking stoned on heroin while fighting this kid. All right, I'll take that L. They called it a tie. I got no problem saying I lost. I was fucking on Westchester Avenue fucking waiting for a dealer 3 hours earlier, So 50 Cent was there. He performed. And, that was my introduction to, I guess you could say, entertainment fighting.
Yeah.
But, the Overdoses came after that. And, my scene in, I can't do this no more came after that. And that's when I went away and I took that kickboxing fight. And it was after that kickboxing fight I won. And I remember saying to myself, it's time to go home. And I didn't just come home. I was coming home every weekend. I was acclimated. I had friends that were sober. And, I got acclimated to come back home. I didn't just jump back into a jungle here. And I moved back. And I got active.
Active in every way possible. Physically, mentally, spiritually.
Physically, mentally, spiritually. God was doing for
That's
me
the formula,
what I could not do for myself.
That's the formula.
And I really found a sense of purpose, trying to help people out, And when I first got sober, it was like a light bulb went off. It was like, wow, maybe if I could go from a heroin addict to a professional fighter, maybe that'll show other people, in the programs that I belong to, that if they arrest their demons, if they get sober, they could do whatever the hell they want to. And I'm not encouraging people to go out and, chase blood sport. You want to get your family back in your life? Get sober, you could do it. You want to go back to school? Regain your position in society? Get sober, you could do it. Get back into the trades. Yeah. Go to college. Get sober, you could do it. And it's not just limited to drugs and alcohol. Mental illness, suicide ideation, it's the same thing. If I could go from here to a professional athlete, you get sober, you arrest your demons, you attack your mental illness, there's not a goddamn thing in this world you cannot do. Around 10 months sober, I got into Local 40 Ironworkers. Fucking strongest union workforce the globe has to offer. And I continued fighting.
How'd you get that job?
I took the test. Didn't know anybody. I botched the fireman's test. That's what I really wanted to do. But I knew I had to get a job. And I remember not even knowing what an ironworker was. And then my first day on the job, I see these guys climbing steel, and I'm like, how do I get up there? And then you want to talk about the industry choosing you. I didn't even know what an ironworker was. I just needed a job. And then I got up there and I was like, what the fuck is this?
You're in the sky.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was on the ground, on the floor, but you see guys up in the sky, 50 stories up, climbing steel.
Are you doing that shit today?
At this moment, no. But for a few years, yeah. While training. I did 14 fight camps while ironworking. I've done maybe eight or 9 of those fight camps while in a gang, connecting on a tagline, spreading deck in my early career. But I finished my career 17 months ago, shelved. I can go back. But I was connecting for about 2.5 years straight while fighting.
Are you full-time fighting now?
Yeah. Yes.
So take me there, because this is what's fascinating to me, and I believe exactly what you said. My story is I showed up in New York City with a suitcase. I knew nobody, and I was able to build a life whatever the hell I wanted. For me, I knew I wanted to work in recovery and help people and do the shit that I get to do today. And for you, it sounds like you knocking people out or whatever it is. I mean, however you want to say it. When do you know that this is that there's a shot? When you got a shot?
Yeah, so when I got into ironworking, I started taking my first few amateur fights. I won my amateur title, won it 3 times the same year. Then I had my first pro fight in 2019, and I fucking lost. And I lost to a kid that I beat a year earlier. And I remember I was like, I reached my fucking goal here, but this isn't the way I wanted it to look. And then the pandemic hit, and I said, I'm gonna try this again. I go on a 3-fight win streak. I know ironworking still. And then I lose a 4th fight. And then I go on another streak. And last January, 2024, I finished a job. I was connected in Harlem. And I fought in March. And this kid was undefeated with 4 knockouts. And I put him on his fucking ass. And after that fight, my wife looked at me and she was like, Jim, it's either now or never. And I haven't gone back since. Now, I miss it every day. I really do. I love ironworking. Love it. Best men and women you ever meet in your life. Unbelievable work ethic. And I think about it all the time. But I knew that if I'm going to pursue this, I have to just focus on this. And that was my 14th fight camp while ironworking. So last January is when I left.
What does one day in that camp look like? With the
Wake up at 5 in the morning. In Manhattan by 6. Job starts at 7, 7 to 3, or 7 to 5. In my early years, I had outpatient. I had fucking apprenticeship school, 2 nights a week, 3 hours, and I would any time slot I could find that was open, I would train, and I always trained at most, or at least twice a day. So if I was working without apprenticeship school, conditioning workout as soon as I was done with work, sparring at night, or vice versa. If I had apprenticeship school, I was training at 9:30 at night on the fucking field. It didn't matter if it was February. I was getting sober at this time.
Where?
Oh, I was hitting meetings. Oh yeah, absolutely. I always found time for meetings.
Are you married at this time or no?
No.
Where'd you meet your wife?
I met her at a gym in Tuckahoe. Yeah, she moved down from New Paltz. She was a teacher in Manhattan.
What does she think about fighting?
You know, I don't. Well, she's more invested in the career than I am today. She's my biggest supporter. She really is. I mean, I don't think any of us knew where we'd be today when we first met, honestly. Like, I'm knocking on the door at the UFC, and it's like, dude, I wanted one pro fight. You know, like, I never planned on it getting this far. You know, but it's like, you're this close now. How do you stop?
Do you have a manager?
I do.
So
Jason House with Iridium.
What does life look like today? Where's your gym? What do you like? What? Tell me.
So I'm still at my hometown gym, Animals MMA, Yonkers, New York. I do jiu-jitsu at Essential in White Plains. I got a strength and conditioning coach who's phenomenal, Mark Vaccaro. I go out and travel for sparring. If I have to go to Jersey, if I have to go to Long Island, if I go to Champs Boxing Gym in New Rochelle for their work. This isn't the mecca of MMA. You kind of got to seek out the specialists, the wrestlers, the grapplers, the strikers, and you got to travel for it, you know. And I've been to other places where they have a gym and all the pro MMA guys are in there. And, you know, like, listen, I built my life here. Like, I just, at the moment, I don't want to move to Florida or Vegas. I just, you know.
Who's funding that?
I've done well over the years between working and fighting. Absolutely. And as of getting smart and, like, knowing how to manage finances, I didn't get wasteful. You know, I took care of our family. You know, like you hear McGregor say that, you know, my wife worked 2 jobs. Fucking, I'll be dead before that happens. I would never put that burden on my wife. So I would fight 3 or 4 times a year. I'd save the money. I would iron work every day of the year. I would save my money. I made sure we got set up with a home. We bought the home. It's got, you know, it's a self-sufficient home. There's people that live with us, and, you know, different units, and it kind of takes care of itself. And it's, you know, we're comfortable. We're comfortable, and I do have sponsors. I do have sponsors that have helped out. They every time I have a fight camp, I do T-shirts, and they contribite to the camp.
How long is a fight camp? Like, is that like what does that mean? Like a fight camp?
Fight camp's about 8 weeks.
Okay. And this is just like an intense training period where you can sort of jump in and really prepare.
Yeah. You want to kind of check all your boxes by the time that fight happens. Did I do my sprints? Did I do my wrestlings? Did I do my strikings? Did I test myself in sparring? And, you know, that's the 8 weeks. And it was very difficult to do while iron working.
How does your wife understand your sobriety? Like, what's her ideas about it?
Well, she's never seen me drink a drug. She's a happy woman today. I'm a happy man. I would do absolutely anything I can for her. She would do absolutely anything for me. And, you know, she knows that this is a lifestyle. And I think from being around for the last 7 years we've been together, you know, people, when they first get sober, like, you think you know what you want. I used to be so twisted with that. I want the mansion. I want the car. It's all bullshit. And really the biggest accomplishment someone could have in life is how many people can you affect in a positive manner? Because at the end of these days, no one's going to remember what watch you wore, what car you drove, or what you do here, what, you know. How many people do you impact in a positive manner? And my wife sees that I can get that done through my sobriety. and she would never question that.
Let me ask you this. So I was a pitcher growing up, and I was all right. Like I played in college, like, you know, whatever. But I never did it sober, right? Like I never threw one pitch where I was like really focused on that one thing. And you hear people a lot of times, artists, musicians, I can't write if I'm not using. I can't do this if I'm not getting high. Psychologically, fighting, what has your sobriety done for you?
Sobriety has taught me discipline and consistency on a daily basis. Taught me to show up, give my 120% into everything I do, and get detached from the outcome. Remember, it's not my will no more. You know, one of the greatest things I found in the program is finding power greater than myself, sense of purpose today, an undeniable fucking work ethic. I can only do my best, and I'll give my best in everything I do in life. Ironworking, the program, my family life, my finances, my fight career. What's meant to happen is going to happen.
So how do you handle like the dreaming? I mean, like obviously like you have a plan for yourself. I mean, like you have hopes, right? Like you want to go there, you want to win, you want to get, you know, your pro card, you know, you want to be fighting in bigger, better, whatever. You know, like how do you control that? Or are you just, you know, you allow yourself to dream and hope and you just keep working?
I built a beautiful life outside of fighting. I got to this point and I'm like, well, how do you stop now? I'm putting every ounce of effort I have into winning this fight, obviously. But I truly believe God did not bring me this far to just drop me on my fucking ass now. Whether the result is a win or a loss. Mm-hmm. But no matter what, everything's going to be okay. And I'm not just saying that, you know what I mean? I have 10 years of proof that everything was always worked out. It's just not on my timing, you know? I didn't get into the fireman job. I got into ironworking. Couldn't have worked out any better. I thought I was, you know, supposed to end up with someone else. I met my wife. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. It's worked out. Mm-hmm. I lost my first MMA fight. That wasn't part of my plan. I'm fighting in Vegas in 5 weeks. It always works out. So hopes and dreams, they're great. But it's what effort you put in to get there that really matters to me.
So I love that, dude. Let's talk quickly about this fight because I want to get the people behind you. I have a couple questions. So my first question, what does a UFC contract mean to you and your family financially? Are you allowed to share? Like, what does it mean anything, or it just means you can go then fight?
A UFC contract is you're signed with the most elite fighting organization the world has ever seen. In the beginning, I think a big misconception is people think you're rich when you get into the UFC. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. It's actually the exact opposite. If you heard what fighters got paid, you'd probably be like, well, I think you should join a trade or something, you know. Most fighters don't do it for the money. I definitely don't do it for the money. I think I'm fighting for the underdogs in life, and I truly believe that. I know a lot of people that have seen me strung out on fucking heroin to fighting in front of a crowd of 2,000 people, and I think that's really important for people that struggle with addiction and alcoholism to see. Also, too, to get to the Contender series, if there's 5 weeks, if there's 10 weeks of 5 fights, that means there's 50 fights. That means there's 100 fighters. There's probably 10 different weight classes. That means that maybe 20 welterweights, 15 welterweights get called for this opportunity each year. That's not in New York. That's not in the country. This is an international sport. I'm one of those 15 welterweights in the whole fucking world of 8 billion people to get called for this. I was a junkie on Westchester Avenue. So what does that mean to me? I beat the fucking odds.
Priceless.
I beat the odds.
All right, here's my next question. Who's the 4 people?
That's a good one.
Who's the 4
My
people?
wife.
Your wife?
My mother.
Yeah.
My younger brother, Joe. And my cousin, Scott. He was the best man at my wedding.
That's your squad?
That's my squad.
Where were those 4? So if you didn't hear Jimmy say earlier, basically set the stage. He's fighting in the Contender series. It's in Vegas. There's no bells and whistles. Each fighter gets 4 tickets to this fight. It's on ESPN on Tuesday nights. We'll get you all the airing information, but he gets to bring 4 people. So I'm asking him the 4 people. Where were those people when you were shooting dope?
Well, you know where my mother and my brother was?
Yeah.
My wife was chasing her master's degree.
Okay.
Like a very respectable, productive member of society. And my cousin Scott was around. He's not like, he doesn't have our, issue. And I think that when people that don't have the issue see others going through it, they don't know how to respond to it. And that's completely acceptable, because even having the issue, if people aren't ready to get help, there's not a damn thing in the world you can do about it. I can't will people sober, but when you're ready, I'm here to help. And that's kind of where he was at the time.
Do people hit you up? I mean, I know you've been really vocal on kind of social media, and obviously like in your people reach out to you for help.
They have.
Yeah.
And I always do my best to get to everybody.
What about in the world of MMA?
Is there any other sober fighters?
There are some other sober fighters. Jared Gordon, Andre Petrosky. Yeah.
You know these guys? Reach out to them?
Jared, I know. Andre actually commentated my last fight. He was a commentator for CFFC. Do I know them super personally? I know Jared pretty decently. Trained with him a few times. Great guy. I'm sure we have very similarities in identification in all 3 of our stories. I don't like to think I'm unique.
Yo, I took a fucking kickboxing class when I moved to New York City. That shit tortured me. I don't think I ever went back. And this was one of these cheesy I love kickboxing.com or whatever. I mean, I was in this fucking I am not a fighter. I've been punched in the face. I've been knocked on my ass, and I've tried maybe, a couple of guys punched by me, but
I've tried jiu-jitsu, and I was in Noah was very into that.
Yeah.
A friend of ours.
I think it's pretty important to know, I'm probably one of the nicest people you'll meet too. I don't.
Well, you seem
I
that
am
way.
not a malicious person.
So what's your
It takes a
relationship?
lot for me to get angry.
What's your relationship to violence? What is the experience of fighting? What does it feel
My father was a really tough guy, and as a kid, it's oh, your father was this badass. You want to be like him, So you're growing up and you test other people and you fight in the parks and. But what's fighting like in the cage?
Yeah,
it's calm.
It's calm.
It's calm. I
It's
don't
a
hear.
craft,
I don't
right?
hear a thing. I don't hear anything. It's the closest thing to primal you'll ever get in this world. Hand-to-hand combat, and it is so entertaining that 2,000 years ago they built a fucking coliseum for it. So you're acting on pure instincts in there. So when the fight's over, how'd I do? I don't even remember.
Right.
Because you're so hyper focused. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. Very few people be able to ever say they get to live a life like that.
You still taking on sponsors?
No, not at the moment.
You're done for this.
I'm done for this one. I made my shirts already.
I was ready to throw down, bro. That fucking release. I'm trying to get in on this train, Fucking release.
Big shout out to Brian Brown.
Yeah.
Huge sponsor of mine. Brian's an absolute gem of a human being. Him and his partner John. They're the best trial lawyers for union workers in New York City.
Brian Brown, yeah. And that's how this shit works,
phenomenal.
so everyone knows. I'm playing around at golf. I'm out at Liberty with Brian and Sean McGowan and Luch. You know Luch?
Yep.
Yeah. And Brian's like, dude, I think you gotta, because we were talking, we had just had Waller on. It was that day, and Waller was on the pod, and Brian's like, I don't know, dude, I think you gotta have my boy Jimmy on. I'm like, all right, I get people every day.
I'm sure.
You gotta have someone on. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, dude, and I'm like, just tell. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, this kid's special. That's the way he said it, and he looked me in the eye. You're laughing probably because you probably had that relationship, but he's like, no, I'm telling you, and he was right, man. The second you sat down, the second I saw you in the hallway, I knew something was different about you, and you said something early on in this interview, and we'll wrap, but you said something where you said, and it's how I feel, and I'm sure it's how you feel, Jay. I was never a bad kid. I was never a bad kid. As much heroin as I could do, as much shenanigans that I pulled off, it was never malicious. And I get that same sense with you. It's just you said it, you weren't a bad kid. You were hurt.
Lost finding our way.
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, I kind of finish up with this, like, a true test of character is how we react to adversity. So no matter how much trials or tribulation you went through, you sit here in this chair with your microphones and everything is because of sobriety, right? I wouldn't change my story for anything. I love my life today. I live a beautiful life, a very fulfilling life with a sense of purpose. And it's because of all that adversity I went through. You know, so I'm grateful for the challenges life throws at me and continues to throw at me because it makes me who I am today. And I'm happy with who I am.
I'm happy you're here. I hope you kick some ass on August 12th.
Yeah, man. I feel that.
So it's ESPN like at 8 o'clock? Yeah, is like
I think it's at 7.
straight up ESPN though.
ESPN Plus.
Alex, how early are you going to get out? You got to get out a couple of days early, right?
I'm going out August 7th.
Okay, good.
Yeah, August 7th. Get acclimated. I heard Vegas is supposed to be 120 degrees in August. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to that. I was there 4 weeks ago. I felt like I got sunburned through a long sleeve shirt. So I kind of want to get used to the conditions out there and just enjoy the journey.
Is it at one of the casinos or is it just a
It's
box?
at the UFC Apex.
And Dana's there.
He's there, front row. Yep.
Thoughts on him? Built a monster.
He's just, I don't think people understand like how much of a powerful individual Dana White is.
Yeah.
Like, yes, he's the president of the UFC. He's an American icon, very successful businessman. But like, he's one of the most powerful men in the whole world.
Yeah.
The UFC is, you can't touch them. You can't touch them. What they say goes. That guy, and I'm not getting into politics, but he pretty much, it was a big endorsement for Trump. Like who, what CEO is doing that for politicians, and it's because of his reach to the world, and I just find it impressive with how much power he has. He's got fucking power. And I just think that's impressive. He came from Boston with nothing to Vegas, and he built this empire, So I think it's pretty badass.
August 13th, he's going to know who you are.
Yeah.
August 13th, he's going to know who you are.
I'd like to believe so, Zach. Thanks.
3 rounds? Or
3
5?
rounds. 3 5-minute rounds.
3 5-minute rounds.
Yeah.
And the championship fights are what, 5 5-minute rounds?
Title fights are 5-5s, main events 5-5s.
Do you have any problem with endurance, or is that a strength of yours?
I focus a lot on endurance, honestly, because in the sport of fighting, you have nobody else to rely on but yourself. And if you cheat yourself in your conditioning, you're going to pay for it through cuts, bruises, CTE, and get hurt in front of your closest friends and family. And that's a big fear of mine, so I try and make sure I don't get tired in there. But fully understanding there's a fight and anything can happen. And for most of my career, I've been on the right side of it. And I continue and pray that I will stay on that side of it.
Do me a favor, don't drink before this fight, all right? Try to
I was actually planning on banging a bag, bro. Bringing it back to 2014,
Yeah. Dude, thanks for coming on, Jimmy. Jay, you good? You got anything else?
I'm good.
This is one of my favorites, dude. Awesome shit. Thank you. That's
Thanks,
a wrap.
Jimmy.
Thanks for having me on here.
Jimmy.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
good luck,
it.
bro.